So guys, if you know me, man, then you know I have always been a fan of Xbox, man. Was introduced with the 360 and just been a fan ever since. Now, never left the brand. I've always had a lot of questions about the brand. Sometimes I look at the directions and some of the decisions made along the way, and I question them. And a few things I just was just totally against, right? And this generation was just, to me, as an Xbox gamer, I think it was a great start to the generation. I ended up going with the Series X over the PS5. I couldn't get both, so I had to make a decision. I'm a fan of PlayStation as well, and I went with my Series X, man, and I wasn't disappointed. It was a few reasons, because backwards compatibility is far superior. I think that is just amazing from Xbox, and I hope they continue to improve that going forward in the future. Games that's delisted like Batman Arkham Origins, you can't really buy that digitally on Xbox. So if you can find a disc out there somewhere, like I want to do, that's dope. Being able to just pop in a 360 disc or original Xbox One disc and being able to play those games is really cool. And I will hope that Sony would eventually do this as well. And FPS boost was a big thing for me. As a console gamer, we wasn't used to 60 frames last gen, outside of things like Call of Duty and Battlefield and Halo and stuff like that, competitive games. But 120 to me was definitely unheard of as well, as a console gamer. So one of the first 120 FPS games I played was the first two Metro games, Last Light and Redux. Those actually run at 120 FPS on the Series S and the Series X. So I was excited, man. Game Pass was improving. There was always good games coming. We had a good roadmap, and along the way, I don't really understand what happened, because I always thought the Series X would be built upon, the Series S would be built upon, because I thought the foundation that was there was amazing. All the features I mentioned was dope, and it was really no improvements along the way. I always wanted UI changes. I always wanted party improvements. Being able to get the party audio like you can do on the PS4 and the PS5. I think that's dope. Being able to hear the homies' voices and clips, if you're playing something like Halo or Call of Duty, or just get the party chatting, that's pretty cool. So, I will always hope they would improve stuff like that along the way. But, it became kind of stagnant, and, they started making decisions to me that didn't make sense, giving other platforms games when other platforms is trying to keep games off of your platform. I think exclusives is important. I think it's, to me as a gamer, it's important, especially in this economy. It's hard to, buy these games and consoles. These consoles is more expensive than ever. So it's like, if you want me to go pay $600-$700 for your box, it's like you need to have some things that's exclusive to that box that I can only reap the benefits of from having this system. And that's kind of how I've always moved as a gamer. Halo, Gears, even with Sony, Last of Us, Spider-Man, fucking Sly, all those games is just important, and it builds an identity. And even Nintendo, I feel like they do it best to this day. I'm really enjoying my Switch too, but even games that's older, that's only on certain platforms. I'm playing something like Xenoblade Chronicles 1. I'm thinking that's a dope RPG so far, and it's just like, it's dope. It's important. It builds an identity, and it builds a brand. It gives people something to root for. And I say all that to say, what the hell was Phil Spencer doing all this time, man? Sarah Bonds too, man. Matt Booty, all of them. I don't understand what the hell they was doing all this time. I don't understand how you don't get simple improvements to the systems, like I was mentioning. Just updates along the way, and it's really simple things. Just listen to the community and give us what we want. That's not hard to do. And I want to tip my hat to Xbox actually improving. A lot of people might not give them credit, and a lot of people might try to downplay it. But as somebody that has always been with Xbox, but has gravitated towards, spending more time on other platforms, whether that's the Switch 2 or, my PS5 Pro, I've always still see the benefits of Xbox. Game Pass is a great value. When it went to $30, for me, that's kind of my limit. But the fact that Jxymarley reduced the price of Game Pass down to $22, I think that's really dope. You know, people are gonna complain like, oh, it should go back to 15, it should go back to this, that, and the third. Which, you know, in a perfect world, that'll be lovely. But come on, man, the price of everything is going up. But as a gamer and as a consumer of all these platforms, not just Xbox, this is a W for me everywhere. You know, them going back down to 22, that keeps PlayStation competitive. You know, PlayStation raising the prices, everybody's raising the prices of everything. But Game Pass value can't be understated. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like them keeping it down at 22, that forces Sony from not going up. You know, that Sony can't take PlayStation Premium up to $25 now. You know what I'm saying? Just because Game Pass is 30. So, you know, it kind of keeps people in line when you do competitive things like that. So that was just one of the things. I look forward to resubbing to Game Pass for Forza. And I plan to pick up the physical copy of Forza when it comes to my PS5 Pro, because I'm a gamer and it's a franchise that I love. That simple, right? So that's one thing, and I think it's a huge thing because gamers are saving money. You reduce the price of Game Pass, and I really would love for them to reduce the price of these consoles too, because all of them is too expensive right now, in my humble opinion. You know, the PS5, the PS5 Pro, they're all expensive, and I love my Pro. I think it's a great console. I think all of the consoles is great, but they was great for the price that I paid for them. I paid the base $700 for the Pro. I paid the $500 for the X. You know, the base price for the Switch. So to see, you know, other gamers coming in and having to pay a higher price and stuff like that, man, it's definitely unfortunate. It's not something I like to see. And, you know, that's just the state of the world right now, the economy, everything is getting expensive. So us getting a rare W like Game Pass decreasing its price, I think that's huge. And today, man, you know, it was some more dope news. They're making improvements to the achievements. I always thought, you know, I used to be a huge achievement hunter. You know, after I got to 100K, I kind of just fell off and stopped caring. I think I'm at like 170K or something like that right now. But once I got to 100K, I just stopped, you know, kind of chasing. I just started just regular gaming, just, you know, gaming regular. I'm kind of the same way with PlayStation. I got like 23 platinums right now. Not every game I feel the need to platinum, but if it's something I really like jive with and fuck with, I'm gonna go platinum it. So, you know, the fact that they improving that your 1,000 out of 1,000 gamer score games stand out, you know, I think that's really dope. I still like for it to be a number. And then they made an improvement today where you get a badge on your account for your gamer score. Like, to me, that's a huge W, because I like platinums, you know what I'm saying? I like the trophies and I like achievements too. I just kind of fell off from caring. But, you know, now I got a badge for having 100K, or when I get to 200K, and the people that's, you know, really out there killing it with a million gamer score, that's huge. That's a W, man. So it's really nice to see Xbox improving. You know, they killed the co-pilot. That's one thing I didn't care about. You know, the AI, I don't, you know, keep AI away from gaming unless it's, you know, unless it's a tool to help the devs. You know, I don't want it to replace the devs. I don't want generative AI everywhere, and then you don't have the devs with this artistic vision coming to video games. Because at the end of the day, to me, video games is just art. You know, each and every one is different strokes. It's different strokes of the brush for every painting in life. It's different strokes of video games. Some things is for you, some things isn't. But, you know, it's a good escape, and I love the hobby. So to see Xbox improving, I think is really good, man. Project Helix sound like it's going to be a beast. You know, it being a hybrid is really dope. I'm interested to see the PS6 handheld. I think the Switch 2 is great right now, man. Even with the $50 increase, you know, I still think it's a good price for $500, man. You know, I paid $500, but I got the Mario Kart World with it. But even if I just paid $500 for the Switch 2 alone without the game, I wouldn't feel robbed. It's really dope portable hybrid console. So right now as a gamer, man, I'm just happy. You know, I think everybody is, you know, cooking, trying to improve and fix their wrongs. I think everybody had, you know, stumbles and fumbles. Well, really not Nintendo. Nintendo been killing it, and I think they're gonna continue to kill it. You know, they got things they can improve too, but you know, I like the Nintendo dynamic pricing with the games. That's how you do it. You know, what I don't like is the way Sony doing it. Like, I don't like you get punished as a gamer for your purchase history. You know what I'm saying? If I buy more games, you're not going to give me more discounts, or however they do it. You know, I don't like that. What I do like is Nintendo, look, you know, the cartridges cost money to make, physical cost money to make. All their games is going to be like $10 less digitally. That's a dope idea. You know, $60 physically in Splatoon, and, you know, $70 for Yoshi versus $50 and $60 digitally. You know, that's what I want. You know, make digital games cheaper. I think that's what everybody should be doing. I hope Xbox follow that, and PlayStation. You know, digital games should be about $10 cheaper. You know, now if you want to go the way to go get the disc and own the actual physical media, I think most people won't mind paying that difference, that price. So, you know, it's good to see Xbox improving, man. It's good to see Sony kind of try to right the shit with the slop that they was doing. You know, For Loop, I want to go on record too. That shit is ass. Shout out to the homie Gritty. I ain't even waste my time with it. I thought it was going to look buns either way. But he played it. He said it's not good, man. And I trust the homie's opinions, man. You know, come on, man. Throw that out. Reinvest that money in the marathon. That's an actual banger. Check out the reviews on the channel, man. It's been your boy NextGenNero. Shout out to Asher Sharma. It's good to see Xbox improving, man. I'm happy about it. Hope they can keep it up. Make sure y'all tune in to ADS, man, every Saturday night. Gaming podcast, talking everything gaming, man. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.